Conveniently located in the heart of Lexington is the Signature Club of Lansdowne, just off Tates Creek Road. Their Grand Ballroom offers 4,000 square feet of flexible rental facilities for your wedding or event. On today's episode, you'll learn more about one of Lexington's most iconic family-owned venues. You're listening to The Wedding Whisperer with Sarah Burton of Simply Love Studio in Lexington, Kentucky. If you know anything at all about Lexington or venues in Lexington, you have probably heard about the Signature Club on Lansdowne Drive. It was probably one of the first venues I heard about and I knew about whenever I moved to Lexington. And although I've been to the Signature Club probably 6 times, I actually don't know that much about it. And so that is why I invited Ashley Turner Frazier, who is the ballroom manager here at the Signature Club, to be a guest on today's podcast. Ashley, thank you so much for joining me.
Yes, thank you for having me.
So the Signature Club actually started in the 1950s.
Yes, that's correct. It started in the 50s as like a neighborhood pool, and our family purchased it in 2005, my dad and grandfather. So it's a family-owned business. They had plans of just renovating the existing buildings, but quickly those plans turned into just flattening the buildings that were here, and just new construction started. They expanded the pool and added a fitness center, a whole new building over by our pool area, and then where our ballroom and the cellar restaurant is located is a brand new building as well. And then our first year actually operating as the Signature Club, like our first summer for pool membership, was in 2006.
And so you have the ballroom, and then you have the cellar that is the restaurant underneath, which is winning awards all the time in Lexington for how great they are.
Yeah.
And you have the pool. So the pool is considered part of the fitness center. It's considered part of your membership.
Correct. So the pool and fitness are member only, or you do have to have a membership to utilize those. They can bring guests. The seller leases the space from us, and so they're their own entity, but they do have a beautiful, I like to say it's a family-friendly sports bar. And then their patio is beautiful, and I think unlike anything else in the Lexington area, but that part is open to the public. Our members do get a discount there on Tuesdays, and then members do get a discount if they choose to rent the ballroom for business, wedding, any sort of events they'd like to have up here.
But as a whole, you do not have to be a member of the Signature Club to rent the ballroom here.
Correct. We do rent the ballroom out to anybody. Members just do receive that perk of a discount.
And how big is your ballroom?
Our ballroom's about 4,000 square feet with a terrace that is attached to it that overlooks the back of the property. And we can accommodate about 200 people inside for a seated reception.
I feel like most of your couples also have their ceremony here. If you have a couple options for that.
Yes. I started working here actually about like 13 years ago in this role, and it was just kind of passed on to me as a reception venue, and I kind of just took what the lady did before me and just ran with it. But we had a couple of brides that wanted to be married on our terrace, and that just kind of like took off like wildfire, and now we host ceremonies out on that terrace just about every weekend throughout the summer and springtime and into fall as well. So we can accommodate 160 out on that back patio area.
And I feel like every time I see pictures from the patio, it's a different setup. When I think I've seen all of the setups, I see something new.
Yeah. When we started doing that, it was like one track mind is like, this is how we have to have it set up. But over the years, we really have done several different variations out on that space. And it's fun to see the creativity that each bride brings with their ceremony.
One of the perks of being here at the Signature Club is that the rental comes with the tables and chairs and linens on the inside of the venue. Are the ceremony chairs outside an additional rental?
They are. Our ceremony chairs are $2.50 plus tax. And like I said, we do have 160 of those. But with that rental fee, we will set them up and break them down for you.
In my mind, that's like free, basically,
Yeah.
because you can't get the chairs anywhere for that price.
Yes, especially with the labor included to set them up and take them down.
And it depends on the size of the guest count, how you can set the terrace up. Because some couples will do half of it as a cocktail hour on the outside. Some guests will do that on one side of the ballroom, while the couple is down on the grass taking pictures. There's just so many options here to where you can have things. If you are having the ceremony offsite at a church or a different venue, then you can have cocktail hour completely on the terrace. I have seen several weddings that have been here during the winter or their rain plans. The ceremony has been set up inside the ballroom. It looks really nice. There have been several backdrops. Donnie has done a few backdrops here that are incredible. And I think it's probably one of the most photogenic venues with the ceremony on the inside.
Yeah, so that is our backup plan. If you plan for a ceremony out on the terrace and the weather isn't cooperating, actually something also to mention that makes us unique about the rental of our ceremony chairs is, say you have a Saturday wedding and by the end of the day on Friday, if it's looking like rain for Saturday and we're going to go ahead and move your ceremony inside to plan B, we will actually refund all of your ceremony chair rental fee back to you. So if the weather isn't going to cooperate, you'll get that money back. But the inside is our rain plan option. But I am each year just surprised at how many brides choose to have their ceremony actually inside. When you walk in our ballroom, there's the big dome ceiling with a couple of large chandeliers that really help define an aisleway. And then we do have the back of our ballroom is pretty much majority windows and doors. They all open up to the terrace. And so there's a lot of good natural light, but it really helps define like a really pretty aisleway to have your ceremony in the middle of our ballroom. So some of our brides that even choose to have the ceremony inside, when the weather's pretty, we'll also then head out to the terrace for cocktail hour and then move back inside for reception as well.
Talking about the inside, you just did renovations here a couple of years ago, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. Right around the COVID time, we ripped out all of our carpet, which did have a pretty bold pattern in it before. And so now we have a much more like neutral tones in our ballroom. It's got white marble flooring. The curtains have been updated. The lighting's been updated. All of our walls and stuff are white. So I feel like it's just a really pretty neutral room that doesn't really have to have a whole lot of like centerpieces or decorating, because I think the room really does speak for itself. So simple decorations or flowers on the table really goes a long way.
Obviously, Saturdays are your most popular wedding day. Are you seeing more Friday, Sunday, and weekday weddings now?
Yeah, so we do see a lot of Saturdays are obviously our most popular date, but the way our pricing structure is, we do have lower rates for Friday and Sunday events. So we have seen quite a few more Friday and Sunday events. We try not to take as many of those during the summer because parking with our pool and the cellar and the ballroom, we don't want it to be such an inconvenience to our members every time they come to the pool to have a wedding going on, because the last couple of summers we definitely have packed our schedule pretty full with Friday, Saturday, and Sunday weddings. But outside of the pool season, we really do have an event, if not a wedding, Friday, Saturday, Sunday each weekend. We are seeing an increase in weddings during the week, and I think that's primarily just because of the large cost savings that couples are getting throughout the week. We still do include tables, chairs, and linens, regardless of when you're renting the ballroom, but that Monday through Thursday price is really attractive compared to our weekend rates.
Where does that pricing start at for a weekday right now for a non-member?
Non-member during the week, Monday through Thursday daytime, which is from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., is $900 plus tax. Monday through Thursday evening, which is from 4 to 10 p.m., is $1,200 plus tax. And then we have some discounted rates for January through April. Our rates are a little bit less than what we consider our peak season as being May through December. So those prices are during the week. And then our most expensive day that we have is a Saturday, May through December, and that's $5,500 plus tax, but it does give you the entire day from 10 a.m. to midnight.
And being able to get in a venue at 10 a.m. makes a couple's day so much easier. And I know that the couple stresses so much less when they just have that couple extra hours. So that long of a time frame is huge for them. And you mentioned parking can get a little tough during the summer with pool season. How do you typically handle that when the guests start arriving for the wedding?
Outside of pool season, parking's really not an issue, but when we do have weekend events, obviously the pool, that's a prime time to use the pool, and the cellar is just getting busier and busier, it seems, each year. But our events are required to pay for valet parking. And so that is the service that we do in-house. It's $100 per event hour. So if you have a 4-hour reception, it's a $400 valet parking charge. That is paid for by the client, but it's offered as completely complimentary to their guests. And the valet parking attendants, they actually park all of the cars off-site. So they're not taking up any spots in the parking lot. Those spots are first come, first served to the guests.
And then one of the benefits of being able, I'm circling back, one of the benefits to being able to get in at 10 a.m. is that you have the bridal suite here. And of course, it depends on how big the bridal party is on if they can get ready in the bridal suite, or there's an area outside of the bridal suite that I see a lot of the girls getting hair and makeup done in. And I know depending on the couple, sometimes the bridesmaids want to get ready in an Airbnb or their house, and then they'll put the dress on here.
Yeah, so the bridal dressing room is located through our women's restroom. It is a beautiful spot, but it really is kind of maxed out at having like 3 or 4 people back there. Some of our brides will have a hair and makeup artist set up in there, and then they'll just rotate in, 2 girls at a time. But if you do have larger bridal parties, a lot of times they will flow into that back area that is really close to our restrooms. It's the white marble floor back there, but it also has the doors that open up onto the patio. And so there's a lot of really good natural light that comes in, and makeup artists love that lighting.
I mentioned some of the couples getting ready at Airbnbs. You also have a couple of hotels that are super close here. I feel like a lot of couples that get married here either use downtown hotels like the Hilton, 21C, or I know that the Embassy in Lexington Green gets a lot of your hotel room blocks and your couples getting married there. Is that kind of what you see on your end as well?
Yeah, we probably recommend that Embassy Suites Lexington Green the most, just because they are truly like, if you MapQuested, it's like less than 1.5 miles away. So it's really convenient to our specific location, and then where they had like remodeled, and they've got a pool and that restaurant down there, and then just so close to the mall and Target and all of the great places that out-of-town guests feel like they have good convenience to those locations. And it just is a quick Uber ride away. And so that's where I see a lot of our guests suggesting their room blocks be.
And it's also right beside Joseph Beth, which has Bronte Bistro in it, which is a fantastic rehearsal dinner option. I think I talked about that on my rehearsal dinner podcast a few weeks ago. So your guests can literally walk from the hotel over to rehearsal dinner.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful space over there.
And speaking of rehearsals, how do rehearsals work here? Is it included? Is it an option?
So if you are having your ceremony here, you are guaranteed a 1-hour rehearsal window. The trick there is just that time has to be worked around our current event schedule. So a lot of times our Saturday brides that are looking to do a Friday rehearsal, we do have Friday events fairly often. And so they do have to just be flexible on that time that they can come in on Friday. Of course, if there's nothing booked, we will, let them do a rehearsal anytime, as well as start setting up the day before. Or they can pick a weeknight if their bridal party is local and it is beneficial to them. They can choose another night that week.
And sometimes I have couples that don't even do rehearsal at all. Truthfully, if you're having a wedding planner that's going to be there with you on the day of, you don't necessarily have to have rehearsal. I feel like everyone forgets what to do when it's time to walk down the aisle anyway, and the wedding planner is going to tell you when and where. So if it's not possible to have a rehearsal dinner or a rehearsal, don't freak out. And speaking of a wedding planner, share with me a little bit about what your venue coordinator does on a wedding day versus what a wedding planner might do on a wedding day.
So I would definitely not call them a coordinator. While we want them to be very helpful, they are more of a facility attendant. They're somebody that will come here in the morning, unlock, go over the layout, and make sure everything is set up as we had discussed. And then they typically will take a lunch break and then come back a couple hours before the ceremony or reception starts here, and will stay till the very end. But the Signature Club staff person that's here that day is checking on your vendors, getting them kind of pointed in the right direction, as far as a lot of times we'll have someone dropping off the cake and they're looking for where the cake goes, or the caterer needs trash bags, or checking on the bathrooms, getting the AV stuff hooked up. They handle facility type stuff. they are not the one that's getting you down the aisle or placing your centerpieces, anything like that. So a coordinator, while it's not required here, there is definitely a peace of mind that when you do hire that particular vendor that they give you, and that way you can kind of just enjoy your day and let all the decisions that you've made leading up to that just kind of fall into place, but as they oversee it.
You mentioned your facility coordinator pointing vendors in the direction of where to go. Do they have a floor plan to follow? Do you make a floor plan for them? How do they know where to send people?
Typically, the couple and I will meet together beforehand. That can be really at any point. It really depends on the couple. We have some brides that we have already sent out some ideas of how they can set things up for a wedding that's not till next spring. And then we have others that have weddings in just a couple weeks and we haven't even had our first meeting. So I let the bride decide how often she wants to be in communication with me, but typically about 1 month out, maybe 3 weeks out from the wedding day, I like to have a meeting and just go over the table layout, what linen color selections they'll have. If they need any of our dishes, we do rent dishes in-house as that is an extra charge, but we can handle those items for you. And so we really go over a bunch of different questions as far as like who's coming in to set up, is there a coordinator, your caterer, DJ, send off, all those specifics that are helpful for our attendant to know. And then I will send them a layout so that way they can have a really good, clear picture of what the ballroom is going to look like. So we're both on the same page. If there's any tweaks that need to be made to that, of course, we'll iron those out. So that way the layout that our attendant gets is exactly what the bride wants. And then she also does have that information as far as like who's coming and what time. And so they will kind of have like a debriefing basically of what they can expect that day to look like. And then, as you know, a lot of wedding days, some things are different. They kind of all run the same and people showing up about the same time and looking for certain things. So our attendants that have been here have worked here for several years and they're very helpful and customer service oriented.
I mentioned that I feel like I've seen the terrace set up in a ton of different ways. Is there any particular way that you have been wanting to see the ballroom set up that you really want a couple to set it up a certain way or something fun or different?
We have seen a lot of different things in there and we host a variety of events. So that's one of my favorite parts of the job is kind of like each day is different, but we do have a new like all white dance floor that can be an additional like rental item. It comes in either 15 by 15 or 21 by 21. And so we're just kind of starting like where brides are actually renting that from us. And I just think like when you walk in and see that big white dance floor in the center of the room, like it really makes a statement. So I try and pitch that even though it is an additional rental item. I really do think it makes like a big difference when you walk in the room. I've been enjoying seeing how people are using that and then kind of, shifting their tables and like buffet and bar and the things that they're doing where those get placed once the dance floor is in the middle.
You also have a ton of other events here that are not weddings, and you had a Barbie party. I think it was a 16th birthday party last year, and the decor for it was absolutely incredible. It may be one of my favorite setups I've seen here.
Yes, that was one of our members that hosted a birthday party here, and it was one of the cutest things that we've done here. Just the attention to detail, the balloons. There was just all kinds of stuff that really made me feel bad for how I throw my kids' birthday parties.
I was like, we went to pizza when I was a kid.
Yeah, that one was over the top. And I feel like balloons and those backdrops and things are just getting so customizable to where you can, those things just really make a statement and bring some like a level of fun to your event.
No matter what type of event you're having here, whether it is a wedding or just a birthday party, one of the cool things is the property is very large and your landscaping is always absolutely fantastic. And there are so many places on the property to do photos. I had a couple that got married here several years ago and it rained the entire day. And the photographer did photos out front in front of the main door with the family. Everything looked fantastic. You had no idea that it was raining. There are definitely rain-planned photo options here as well, but the landscaping in the summer, even in the winter, is absolute perfection.
Yeah, I love getting back the galleries that the photographers will send over because I'm just always amazed at the different spots that they, each photographer kind of has a different eye for things. And so it's really fun to see how they utilize our property to, be really artistic in the photos that they're taking of the couple. The lawn area, which is located between the cellar and the pool, is probably our most popular for bridal party, portraits, family, large groups. But then there's just a lot of places around the grounds and around the ballroom, and even out front, like you said, the doors or there's a big fountain out front that it's really cool to see how photographers use our space to be creative with their photos.
Talking about the area between the cellar and the pool, Michelle Franzetti did a photo there probably several years ago now, and it's probably the one that sticks out in my mind the most. It's with the venue in the background, the lights on, the couple kind of at sunset, and it's one of my favorite photos still.
Yeah, it's really pretty. The setting down there, the cellar patio, which if you do it right, the photographer doesn't have to get all of the people down there, but there's been a bunch of different cool shots with the back of the patio. One of my favorite things is during cocktail hour, if the couple is walking around down to the lawn area to take pictures, it is kind of cool for your guests to be up on the terrace and they can just kind of see you all walking around taking pictures, but then they're obviously removed enough away. But it does make for a fun shot when the bride and groom are on the lawn and then you have our big white building behind you with all of your guests up on the terrace. That's been some cool shots as well.
I hadn't even thought about that. That is super fun. I don't think I've seen those photos.
Yeah.
And then maybe a couple of topics that are a little less fun. Are there things that you wish people knew about renting a venue?
So that, I guess, naturally leads into my biggest pain point currently is we've had to make a hard decision with catering because I feel like the last couple of summers, we really have had a lot of people doing their own food, bringing in their own catering that really probably weren't full-blown catering companies, or they'll do drop-off catering. And so I think the thing that really got overlooked the most was the service staff and how important that is for especially large events like weddings. So this past summer, we made a change to where if you are renting a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, you do have to use a caterer that's on our approved list, which was a hard change to make because there's so many caterers out there that, are in here and work well with us, but we did have to limit it to, just a handful of caterers. Monday through Thursday, there's still that open catering policy.
And two, that's not necessarily for you to be mean or anything like that. It's to honestly protect everyone, and that's an area where couples don't know what they don't know.
The leading thing to get us to make that decision was, as a guest from their perspective, if you are coming to a wedding here, you a lot of times can't separate, or you don't know to separate the service staff or your service experience here from the Signature Club. And so countless times we would have the bride or, the mom they've spent all this money on catering and they knew it was a drop-off service, but it just didn't really, I guess, sink into them how much cleanup would be. And so, of course, our staff will jump in and we want for the end of the day for the customer to have a great experience, but also we only have one person here. And so they can't clear a reception of 150 guests very easily. And so from your guest perspective is what we were trying to protect, where part of it's our image, obviously, but we want them to have a great experience and for you not to have to deal with that last minute, honestly, kind of unexpected stress that comes with the lack of service staff.
Obviously, all venues require a deposit. What type of deposit do you require here for a Saturday wedding?
Yeah, any of our events that you are interested in going ahead and committing to that day, it is a 50% deposit, which we technically call it your first payment because that is non-refundable. It does hold the date for you. And then I would also email you a contract to sign. So that first payment, which is 50%, and then the contract is what reserves the date for you here.
And how far will you book a wedding? Will you book 2026 at this point? Do we go through 2025?
Right now, we have several things that have been booked for 2025. I honestly haven't had any 2026 inquiries yet, but I'm sure as soon as we do, we'll start booking those. But yeah, we still definitely have some dates available for this year. We have some Saturdays available this fall if anyone's still looking for that. But then we are definitely taking reservations still for next year.
And since you still have dates for this year, you're booking for next year. If a couple is interested in touring the Signature Club, how is the best way to reach out to schedule that?
Probably through email. We actually this month started our busy event season. We have had an event every day this month. There's one day that we do not actually have an event. So we do have to work those tours around our event schedule. So reaching out via email, which my email address is aturner@signatureclub.org. And that's the best way to get in contact with me, and we can set up a time for a tour that would be convenient when you actually come here. You can walk around the ballroom, and we aren't like, a lot of times we'll have people that will stop by, but unfortunately we can't actually show them the space because we have an event going on. So definitely recommend setting up an appointment.
And that is something I always, on every single podcast interview that I have talked to a venue, have tried to reiterate is to just not show up at a venue. Just because you're here does not mean that you can show the space, unfortunately. So go the extra step, send Ashley an email to schedule that. And you have Instagram and Facebook. And I always encourage couples to look at the tagged photos on Instagram to see the events that other coordinators have had here, other vendors have had. That's always a great way to look at different venues. Ashley, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. I learned so much more about the Signature Club, and we are so lucky to have you here in Lexington. Do you have any final thoughts you would like to share with the couples today?
Yeah, I would just say, if you are looking for a venue still, we would love the opportunity to show you around and see what we've got. I think something that sets us apart from others. Not only are we centrally located and there's, good on-site parking and beautiful ballroom, but this is a family-owned business that I mentioned earlier. And so I am super invested here. It's not just a job for me. This is, like I said, my family's business. And I really take great pride in seeing all the different events that come in here and working closely with the customers and honestly treating them like family. So I think that's something that sets us apart that is just really important to us, that, I want you all to have the best experience here from start to finish. And hopefully you end up hosting an event with us. You'll see that our customer service is just different than anywhere else because of the family aspect here.
For more information about Simply Love Studio or to schedule your wedding consultation, go to simplylovestudio.com.